Bringing together diverse voices and roles in agriculture is crucial to educate the public about the truth and importance of our industry. We are honoring those stories and people who are sharing experiences and solutions so that we can work towards a stronger future for our nation. Without agriculture, we cannot survive. Listen to Ag Talk. Your story matters on Rural Radio XM 147.
Welcome to Ag Talk, where your story matters. It doesn't matter if you have 2 followers or 2 million. Your voice has a place here. Have you been thinking about sharing your story and becoming an Ag Women Connect member? If you're listening to this podcast, you're in luck because you can get 10% off today. Simply go to agwomenconnect.com, sign up to become a member, and use podcast 10 at checkout. We can't wait to meet you and hear your story. Hey friends, this is Venessa Wood, your host of Ag Talk, Your Story Matters. And today I'm sitting down with a good friend, Tanya Smith. She is from Lubbock, Texas, and she works for Capital Farm Credit. These guys have been super supportive of Ag Women Connects and our agriculture industry as a whole. And I'm so excited because she's actually known me since I was probably in middle school. We connected those dots a few years ago. But first, Tanya, just welcome to today's podcast.
Thank you, Vanessa. I'm happy to be here and honored that you asked me to come on today.
Absolutely. So I just want to get to know you a little bit more. I hear that you're from New Mexico. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, first, you're showing my age if you were only in middle school, so that's okay. Yes, I grew up on a cattle ranch in northeastern New Mexico, north of Logan. A lot of people don't know where Logan is, but they know where Ute Lake is. So we have that option. But my family still runs the ranch there. They actually bought it in 1976, so about 50 years ago. And they run a stocker operation. And it's my brother and my dad and my mom and my brother's family. One of these days, maybe I'll go back. I don't know. I kind of like people, but the older I get, the more I appreciate the whole value of the land and the, just the atmosphere there. It's amazing. So I like to get out there as much as I can.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I find peace out there on the land and with the animals. So not that we can't find peace with human beings. We definitely can, but
That's
it's nice
true,
for a break.
Yeah. But when you're out there in the middle of nowhere and your cell phone barely works, it's kind of nice to take a step back and recharge your batteries.
To unplug for sure. Okay, so tell us, I know this is a really big question, but a little bit more about how you grew up, what you were involved in, perhaps like where you went to school, and then how you got to where you are today.
Well, I was a typical ranch kid. And like I said, we had an hour bus drive. So it was a small school, little 1A school. So obviously you grew up and you did everything. So I played all the sports. I was in 4-H and FFA. Very active in all of those things. And I showed steers and heifers and sheep for a little bit. I think I lost my mind there for a couple of years to do that, but I really enjoyed the steers. My brother and I also had a cow herd that we raised show steers with and sold those once we got a little bit older and got to do all the halter breaking and all the things. And I was a little bit of a cowgirl when I was younger. I had a horse until my dad traded him for a show steer when I was 10. So I don't know who got the better end of that deal. I think the guy we got the steer from actually got the better deal with the horse. So after that, I still did all the things on the ranch, but I love the way I grew up, and it was really something that I cherish and I'm forever grateful for. So when I graduated from high school, I was, going to go somewhere. I didn't really know where, but I was active in livestock judging and wool judging and all of those things too. And I was not going to judge livestock again, I didn't think, but I decided to land at South Plains College in Levelland. And our high school FFA team had actually won second at the New Mexico State livestock judging contest. And so we were going to compete in Denver that following January after I started college. And so my ag teacher said, you get over there and you work out with them and refresh a little bit. And so I actually got to go to a contest with them at Canyon. And I had a really good day, and they had me in their office on Monday and offered me a scholarship to judge livestock at South Plains. So yeah, I think that was one of my first lessons of don't ever say you're never going to do anything. So I wouldn't trade it for the world. I judged livestock there for 2 years, had a great team, lots of memories, lots of great connections that I made. And then I transferred to Texas Tech and decided to pursue a degree in agricultural communications and graduated there and again, my life has been built on networks and people, and it's definitely not what you know, it's who you know. And I've been blessed to have lots of mentors and people that I look up to over my career. And I've been here for 27 and a half years, actually. I started in January of 1999 with a job that had just developed. It was a new position. I don't think at the time it was called First Ag Credit. I don't think those leaders really knew what they wanted. And I sure didn't even know what I was doing because I was 22, but we all made it work. And like I said, I've just been blessed to work here for so long with such a great organization. And I didn't think I wanted to stay in ag. I think that was a rebellious side when I decided to go to college. I thought I wanted to do something different, but figured out really quickly that I didn't have much in common with people that weren't in ag. And so I bounced right back over to ag and, I never looked back. So
we have a lot more in common. So I went to a junior college. I went to Clarendon as a judge, and then I transferred into tech. So that's really cool.
Yeah, my brother actually got his ranching and feedlot operation degree from Clarendon. So I know some people from there too. So
that's a great program, still going. I believe Ty Chesser is leading that now, which we went to college together back then. So it's kind of cool to see all that come full circle. And I just wanted to bring that out in this conversation because junior colleges are great ways. I think especially for kiddos in agriculture. Tanya, you probably agree, coming from a small rural community, that, gosh, if I would have gone straight into Texas Tech, I don't know if I would have lasted.
No, I mean, I would have gotten eaten up, I'm sure, on day one. And that was one of the big drivers, which I had some friends that also attended South Plains. But, I went over there and did a college visit. And Cecily Newsom actually gave me my tour, and I was able to, she got me hooked up as a presidential hostess over there. And so I got to meet a lot of fun people. And Mr. Jim Jenkins was over there. I think there's so many people that still know him. He was a great mentor to me as well. Dave Clevenger, he was my judging coach. But anyways, we had a great time. And I've told so many people, while I love Texas Tech and I love the ag college, I think if South Plains would have been a 4-year school, I'd have stayed there because it was like a big high school to me. And I graduated with 22 kids. And that was a big class, actually. So it was a good adjustment for me.
Yeah, South Plains is a great college. I'm hearing really good things too about their new rodeo team and rodeo coach. So yeah, so go for it. If you're thinking about college and you're not quite sure where to start, you can't go wrong with a junior college. Yeah, and what an incredible opportunity to start out fresh at 22, Tanya. With, you said First Ag Bank, is that right?
First Ag Credit.
Okay, First Ag Credit. And now that's rolled into what Capital Farm Credit is today, correct?
Yes, we went through a couple mergers over my career, but growing up, my mom and dad were super supportive, but they always just said, get a college education, you can do whatever you want. Well, when I was close to getting that education or completing that education, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? I kind of freaked out a little bit. So for anybody listening who is my age or even older, probably they'll remember that there used to be a really big farm show on the east side of Lubbock on East 50th Street outside. And I don't know why I decided, but I went out there and grabbed one of the programs and actually got the book with all the vendors in it. And I just started sending resumes, and my resume got in the right hands of the right people. And yeah, then the rest is history. I got my job and been here ever since. So
that's so awesome. And another thing, I know I've said this on the show before, but it's definitely worth repeating, is I do feel like a lot of ag kids sometimes are even encouraged to go do something different, Tanya, to like get out of the ag industry and experience that world a little bit more. But we always seem to come back to our home roots and our foundation. And I love that. So it looks like you're not getting away from the agriculture industry.
Well, no, and I love it, and it is, it's a big industry, but really at the end of the day, we're a small, tight-knit group of people, and it's been fun to watch my kids grow up, and they showed as well. I was the crazy stock show mom that had all of the organization and the wagon full of snacks, and anything anybody might need, that was me, and loved that whole thing, going through that with them. And they showed pigs, steers for a little while, but we ended up with pigs mostly, but met a ton of great people through that industry as well. So it's fun to watch them. My son will graduate, God willing, and the creek don't rise, from Texas Tech in August. with a degree in ag communications. And then my daughter's also studying ag communications at Tech, and she'll hopefully graduate next May. But it's kind of been fun to watch them find their own path as well. And I'd be lying if I didn't say I wasn't tickled that they're staying in ag too. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about who is Capital Farm Credit and how are they different from your regular day banks out there, Tanya?
So Capital Farm Credit, we're an agricultural lending cooperative. We're part of the National Farm Credit System, and there's farm credits all over the country. But we are one of we're in the top 10. I believe last time I looked, we were number 8 in the nation of the largest farm credit association in the country. We loan money to farmers and ranchers and agribusinesses, and we have a home lending department as well as an insurance side. We got back into insurance a few years ago, and we just want to be here for farmers and ranchers and be that financial advisor, that ag source that they need. We all understand and know that agriculture has really fought a lot of battles and been in a lot of struggles. And, we're based on, the fact that we're just here to try to be that organization to help fund and lend to agriculture because it's so important.
Absolutely. And I'm curious, so are y'all just based in Texas or are y'all nationwide?
We actually are just based in Texas. We serve 192 counties out of the 254 in Texas. We have a charter territory that we stay in, and we have other sister farm credit organizations as well in Texas. But we are the largest. We have, I think, right around $13 billion in outstanding loan volume. So we're super happy about that. And we have a very strong patronage dividend program where we give money back to our customers. So that's kind of a unique thing with us, is that since we're owned by our customers as a cooperative, we're able to retain some of those funds and give them back to our customers. And so that's been a very positive thing. And we're super proud of that history. We've given a lot of money back to our customers. So.
Yeah. And y'all support the communities well, which we always see, anytime that there's an ag event or organization putting something on, I know that Capital Farm Credit is a part of that, and that does not go unseen.
Yeah, we're super supportive of all things agriculture, but especially our youth in agriculture. We have big partnerships with a lot of the major stock shows. We actually launched a new software program that we provide to not all of them, but many of the major stock shows that it's called Texas ShowPass, that we are able to provide for kids to sign up their entries and give them some opportunities. And we're working with Texas AgriLife Extension as well on the validation side of it as well. So it gets way more technical than that, but that's just something that we like to be able to have as a service. Obviously we're big in many other organizations as well. We're big in, Texas Wildlife Association and some of the Texas Trophy Hunters Association programs. We have a lot of customers who love to hunt and fish and buy recreational property. So there's another, side of our business that we like to support as well. We can't be everywhere all the time, but we try as hard as we can to support the industries, especially that give back to us.
Yeah. And just curious, Tanya, where is the headquarters in Lubbock?
We have a nice headquarters office in College Station.
Okay.
And we recently bought a building there a few years ago. And so that's where our headquarters office is there. So.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. And I try to share your scholarships that y'all send out every year and share that with Ag Women Connects. That's super important. So, yeah.
Yeah. We have a very robust scholarship program. We give out about over $100,000. I think this year it was $110,000 to students all over the state. And then we also have a really, really good, highly competitive internship program. I can't remember. I think we have 12 interns this year, but the last report I saw, we had over 600 applicants. So it's very, very competitive. But we have a really high retainership of keeping those kids as Capital Farm Credit employees later on. So super proud of that. And there's some great talent that we've gotten to work with. So.
Well, that's just as important or more important in my experience than even a scholarship is. It's so crazy we're having this conversation. I just got off the phone with a young lady that graduated high school, and she's headed to College Station, and she's got an interview in College Station, and she's super excited about it. And she she asked me, she said, well, Venessa, like, what should I be expecting? Or how do I set myself apart on these internships? So I'm like, just be willing to go to work. Like, it's great that you're going to get paid for this, but don't take that for granted by any means. Like, don't hesitate to go out there and put 1,000% of your effort into this, because you're going to learn so much through that internship, and there's going to be so many opportunities that you're probably just not going to get anywhere else. So I'm glad that
No,
y'all are doing that.
for sure. And I just would echo that. I love that you said just to work hard, because I think that's a key, especially to the younger generation. I mean, you've got to be willing to do absolutely anything, whether it's, taking out the trash or doing, something else. And I think that's super important, to be flexible and be willing just to get in there and grind and work hard, because obviously people figure that out, and they know who they can count on and who the go-getters are. And that's just going to benefit those kids, as they go through their career.
Absolutely. Well, I love where this conversation is heading, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the rest of Tanya's story. Okay, friends, we are back from the break. Tanya, I want to know a little bit more about what you do specifically for Capital Farm Credit.
So my title is marketing director, but that covers a lot of different hats. I wear a lot of different hats, and I'm happy to do so. But mainly I kind of oversee all of our advertising and marketing functions for the association. Like I said earlier, we're a large association. We have nearly 600 employees, or right at 600 employees, about 60-ish offices throughout the state. So I kind of serve as kind of the overseer of making sure our brand is correct, and all of our print advertising is the way it should be. I oversee all of our outdoor advertising, all the TV production, and we've gotten bigger into getting to do more video work for, social media, which has been a lot of fun. And then this year we actually partnered up with Aaron Watson, which has been a lot of fun, the Texas singer. A lot of fun. We got to go to his ranch and shoot a video with him, and he's an absolute hoot. And we've had a lot of fun. So I have a lot of fun getting to go out and meet our customers and spend, a few days with them, shooting TV commercials and visiting with them. I think that's one of my favorite parts, is just to hear their story. And it's just a super fun thing that I get to do. But there's a lot of moving parts to what I do, but that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's funny that you brought him up, because he is a hoot on social media. I was watching something the other day about Jelly Roll's, marriage falling apart, and he just, he had to give his 2 cents about it. But
sometimes I do just hold my breath when I see some of his posts, because I'm like, oh my gosh, what is he going to say now? But getting to sit down with him, and he was so kind and just, you kind of have maybe a stereotype of those type of people that are, very well known, that they're just going to not let you, your contract says, you only have me for 2 hours or whatever it might be. And he came in, gave us his cell phone number. He let us, do whatever. And we got all the footage we needed, and he was still raring to go. And we're like, hey, I think we got plenty. So we'll get out of your hair. It was a long day, but it was a fun day. So, but he's a customer of ours as well, which is kind of a cool connection. And yeah, so we kind of have the same kind of goals in mind. So it's been fun.
that's awesome. Well, I'm not surprised there. Maybe he does follow Ag Women Connect. Somebody pointed that out to me the other day, and I was like, ooh, maybe he'll come and sing. Maybe he'll come sing for us, maybe at one of our galas or something. But yeah, you never know. But so is that footage out that y'all have done with Aaron already?
We just released the 30-second TV spot this last week. So it's hit where we have our TV buys and everything. And then we're fixing to roll out some more stuff, some additional video on socials pretty soon. But we had a big company-wide meeting last week. And so we're all kind of catching up and playing catch up to figure out what we need to do next. But yeah, it's all coming pretty soon. But
I bet. Well, for you being the marketing director, I saw something on LinkedIn that really kind of caught my eye earlier this week. And it's talking about just the responsibilities, Tanya, of what it takes, to be a social content manager, to provide the content, or to know what to do in the marketing, to get the commercials ready, to do the outreach. I mean, there's just so much to it. It's not just one job. It's about 40 jobs rolled into one. And then you throw in what we were talking about earlier is, the times change, the algorithms change, the devices change. You've got to just keep up with the world. So Can you kind of walk us through what that has looked like for you over the years and maybe some challenges and how you've overcome that?
No, the social side of things, I will tell you that that's when you hire people that are much smarter than you and utilize their talent. And that's exactly what we've done because I show my age again. I'll never forget, like I was sitting in a classroom at Texas Tech in one of my AgCom classes, and that this email thing came out and they said, "Oh, your email address and or you need to go to this URL." And I was like, "Phew," like, what does that even mean? So that's how old I am. And so some of this stuff, and it's ever changing, but I started with a team of one myself, and then kind of actually we had a team of two for a long time. And we finally have grown our department, and we have a team of 10, I believe, is in our department. We have a person that's over our communications, and we have a person that's over our social media, and we have a person that's over, our events team. So that's been a true blessing to me. When we were all together last week, I was like, okay, none of y'all can quit. Nothing better happened to you because we're finally a full staff. And I think we have super, super talented people on our team that I just kind of sit back and kind of manage the overall thing. I'm kind of on the big umbrella over the top on some of those things, but the social media girl that we have is phenomenal. And so is our designer. We just were able to hire an inside designer I think she started last September. And I used to do all that too. And another one of those software programs, I just kind of taught myself of how to do design work. So I kind of know what I like and I know what we need to look like. But as far as me being a designer, I am not. So I just filled the gap there, but hire people that have the talent and utilize them. And you're right, it's ever changing. You're always constantly trying to, figure out what your customers want to see and what they want to hear and how we can be of service and what makes the most sense. What's the message that we need to be sending today? So it's ever changing, and the algorithm, yeah, like I said, that stuff blows my mind. We just had a call this morning and I think I was glassed over because I was like, I don't really understand some of this stuff, but it's fun. It's fun to see people that do know how to do that stuff and see it all come together. But that's one of my favorite things is just to, organize a TV shoot. And, it's everything from logistics to getting your customers and praying that the weather holds because, it's always outside. And I've had a few weather challenges, but that's just the way it goes. But to see all that done and spend time and hear their stories and then be able to put that out and produce that into something spectacular that complements both them and us is really truly amazing. I love when I have the TV on and one of our ads comes up, and it's just fun to see it at the finished stage. So.
Yeah. Well, it's really cool to hear that, you started as one and then two, and now you're up to 10. And I hope that gives some people hope because it's okay, if you're starting out and you're the only one doing that work and then you add on, things just don't happen overnight, even for big companies like Capital Farm Credit. So you just have to start somewhere. And I truly do believe too, I kind of picked up in your message that God aligned you with the people that you need, and He knows what you need to run a company and to be successful. And we have found that true with Ag Women Connect, and yeah, we have lots in common there, I believe, and I just think it's neat to hear it from another woman.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everything that's happened in my life has been for a reason, and I know there's a greater power for sure. And I get a little emotional about it just because we all have our highs and our lows, but you know what? I'm in a great place, and I've got a great organization to work for, and it's been a blessing. So.
Okay, so tell us. So when I think of Capital Farm Credit, I honestly think about you because you're out there in the public quite a bit. I see you at Hemp Hill. I haven't been in the last couple of years just because, gosh, I can't be everywhere, right? If I could duplicate myself, I would definitely be there. But this year we had softball tournaments and I wasn't missing that. But tell us just a little bit more about how cool it is to be able to connect with your customers and clients and what these events can do, not only for y'all, but just for other people.
Well, and that's what, like I said, when I was younger, I was the one that had to go all the trade shows and set up the booth and visit with people and be there for 3 or 4 days at a time. And that was a lot of fun too, because you got to see people over and over year after year. And I'm still very active in the Amarillo Farm Show. We have a big reception there for our customers, and we're up there a lot. But that's really cool too, is just to get out and see people. Sometimes I have a problem saying no to things. So I've been very fortunate to be able to serve on lots of boards and committees as well, and be active through my kids growing up and showing, and also just now in my industry, which has really been cool, because when we try to do things internally for Capital Farm Credit or host an event, just through some of those relationships that I've built, I know somebody that I can count on, or I can ask to speak, or, hey, can you host us at your event center, or, whatever the thing may be. I was also fortunate enough to be selected and get to be in the Texas Agricultural Lifetime Leadership Program years ago. And I served as the alumni president for 4 years. And man, just those networks and connections, that was just been amazing. It's just, it truly is. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I'll never forget one of my coworkers came down the hallway one day, and he was having to host and put on this big appraisal event that they were doing. And he said, "Oh my gosh, Tanya, I've got to have a speaker to speak to dairy and to speak to ag law and something else. I can't remember now. It's been so long." And I said, "Give me a minute." And literally within 30 minutes, I had 3 people that I was in the TAL program with that were all very well educated in those industries. And they said, "Absolutely, we'll come speak." So it's just, like I said, agriculture is just one big, tight knit community, and it's truly unique, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. Well, looks like you're doing very well at that. And I know you have a great team too. So I've talked to, it's Travis Thorne. I think we graduated together, and it's kind of funny, it's just like, oh, okay. So I know some other people in your group, but I kind of wanted to talk about too, is just you mentioned it earlier, is just what our farmers are going through. And how has that been like on your side of things, Tanya? Like, I'm sure you can't even put it into words. When we think we're getting ahead a little bit, it's 2 steps forward and 4 steps back. But have you seen a shift here lately where we're heading in a better direction, or?
I sure hope so. Growing up as a cattle rancher's daughter, I've seen some pretty good times and some pretty lean times. And, getting to be in this industry too. I'm not on the lending side, so I don't understand the ins and outs of day-to-day stuff. But just talking to some of our loan officers and relationship managers, man, it's been a struggle. And, I feel confident that our guys are doing everything they can to help these guys renew their loans so they can keep farming. But man, it's just, I try to be an optimist, but it's kind of hard lately when, like you said, you take 2 steps forward and 4 steps back because of just all of the crazy things that, you didn't predict. We didn't predict. And I don't get into politics. I don't know enough to speak to it, but all of the crazy things that we can't control that affect agriculture in a negative way. It's really been a challenge, but at the end of the day, farm credit's been through challenges. You hear the crazy stories about the 80s and high interest rates and all the things. And, we'll make it through. We just have to keep our heads up and pull our bootstraps up and keep working. So
that's right. We don't quit when it gets hard. We just keep going through.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, friends, we're going to take one more quick break. We'll be right back with Ag Talk, Your Story Matters. Okay, friends, we are back from the break. So Tanya, you mentioned being on several boards, which I think is super cool. You can gain a lot of experience from that. And you've been with the board for the new expo center coming to Lubbock County, which I am personally super excited about. I think it's going to be great for our economy. I think it's going to be great for our agriculture industry. So can you tell us a little bit more about what's coming through the pipeline with that?
I just started serving on that board a few years ago, but there's a great group of people that are behind that have served and done, been in the trenches, and it's been a long drawn out process, and, everything has its struggles, but you know what, we finally have made some forward progress, and we're super, super close to getting there. And we so much need this facility, and it's going to be great to support, not only the ag community, but just Lubbock and Lubbock County in general, just because it's going to bring in all sorts of events from, monster truck rallies to concerts to, whatever we can think of. And then it's just going to be a great resource to, have a facility large enough to hold, events from cutting horses to ropings to stock shows to all sorts of things. So we're super excited about it. And again, we've had to pull up our bootstraps and just keep trucking. we're at the point now where you don't want to quit, and we're not going to quit. So we've had lots of people in our corner and supporting that. And I'm grateful for that, but we're very excited. We actually are doing our Expo Nanza fundraiser this September. I think it's the 12th. I'll have to double check that, but it's going to be a lot of fun because we finally have some good news, and hopefully we'll be putting shovels in the ground really soon. So.
Well, I'll be there at that one. I'm so glad that you brought that up. I don't think I could have gone. I think y'all had one last year too, and something didn't align, but I was bummed to miss that one. Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, with my kids both being in sports and in agriculture, that's another thing, is like a lot of these kiddos who are in sports that are traveling to either Houston or Fort Worth or further than that, we're going to have this right in our backyard in Lubbock County. And hopefully I'll get to interview Amber when I get the green light. Trust me, I've been asking her for like a year.
Yeah, and she's very knowledgeable, and she's great at what she does. She's been a godsend to the committee to be able to come in and help us with some of this stuff. So super happy to be a part of that group.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's going to emulate the facility in Waco. So, and I'm sure since it's going to be in Lubbock, it's going to be better. But I know that one in Waco is super successful too. So it's just, it's exciting. It's a win-win. I don't see any cons to this at all.
Well, I appreciate your support. And yes, we would love to have anybody on that could speak to it in depth if the time ever happens. So that'd be great.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so let's talk a little bit just about being a woman in agriculture. Tanya, if there was something that you would want to say to somebody maybe shifting gears or just trying to figure out where to go, what job to get, what would be your advice to them?
Well, I take your organization, that comes to mind, of course, because you've developed such a great group of followers and women all over the country. And I think if we, just embrace that and lean on each other and ask questions and, find those people that may have those other network connections just to, get involved. I think that's one of the main reasons why that I've developed such a big network of people and relationships, just because I did say yes. And I did serve on lots of different committees and boards, and you just have to put yourself out there and not be scared. We all run into scary things sometimes, but the ag community is so embracing and so welcoming to everybody. I just think that just to, figure out your place there and see what you can do. And, I just encourage people just to do that, put yourself out there and see where the road might take you.
Yeah, that's right. And don't be afraid to get involved in not just agriculture networks, but it's good to diversify yourself, to be well-rounded, to go out and maybe be a part of another group that may not be a part of agriculture, but needs to know, about ag. And it's really cool when we're able to step into those conversations and educate people about our ag industry.
Yeah. And, years ago, I was on an ag committee for the Chamber of Commerce here in Lubbock. And then I actually went through Leadership Lubbock many, many moons ago. But that was a really super cool thing that I got to do too, because I got to see, and since I wasn't a Lubbock native, I got to see so many different aspects of what the city, could offer you that's outside of agriculture. So that was really neat for me too. So just some of those unique opportunities that are out there, again, embrace those and try to get involved, because you're going to learn a lot and meet a lot of people along the way.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, Krista, she's on the other line. She usually asks a couple of good questions. We'll see if she's available.
Vanessa, I think you kind of touched on it, but what would your advice be to maybe like a college student who isn't sure what she wants to do and is maybe tossing around a couple different ideas, but what would your advice to her be as she tries to find her place in agriculture?
Oh man, that's a really good question. And I'm kind of going through that with my daughter right now, because we were all that age at some point in our lives of, like I said, when I went through it, you think, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? But, I think, and I sound like a broken record, because it continues in my experience to go back to those networks and those connections that you've made, and really rely on those people that know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. And, trying to get an inroad into that, get your name out there, and again, goes back to what Vanessa said earlier, bust your tail, get in there and work hard and be available. And, and it may be whatever job or whatever internship or whatever thing, that you figure out or that you go through, it may say it's an 8 to 5 job, but if you're willing to stick around or, put in the extra hours or work on Saturdays or, whatever that may be, those things are going to, you really, really benefit you in the long run. But I think for me, it just goes back to relationships and really leaning on people that can help, open some doors for you.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great answer. And then to kind of tack on to that, you have talked so much about networks and building relationships. That can be intimidating, I feel like, especially for a college student or even a young adult early in their career. What tips have helped you the most in building your own network and really deepening the connections beyond, the first meeting or, how do you follow up or, things like that for building your connection?
Yeah. So again, I started when I was really young and just to get over that fear of showing up to a meeting or showing up to something that you're not quite familiar with. That's super important. And I still get, a knot in my stomach every now and then when I'm in a group of people that I don't know, but I've found that, the world is definitely a small place. Vanessa, you mentioned Travis Thornton earlier. We actually grew up in New Mexico and FFA and 4-H together. And it's been super fun to kind of reconnect with him as now a fellow coworker. But, and I think too, I remember, Dr. Cindy Akers and Jackie Lockaby and Steve Fraze and a lot of those guys that were at Tech when I was at Tech, they were so incredibly helpful to me as a young person. And Dr. Akers has actually come full circle and gotten to teach both of my children and myself. So showing her age a little bit as well. But, just really meeting some of those people that, and, when they were professors, they really genuinely cared about you and your future. And, who knows what they did in the background that I never knew about, but I'm happy to say that, I'm still friends with a lot of those people today, Dr. Lance Keith, and there's so many, there's too many to name, but that's been something that I cherish. And I would just, encourage young kids to show up to class and make those connections with your professors, because those people know a ton of people that, eventually could turn into something as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's a great answer, Tanya. And then you were kind of taking me down memory lane. I ran into Cindy a couple of months ago, and it was really good to see her.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we also, years ago, Matt Williams and I had a brainchild to team up together on our tailgates at Texas Tech. And so that's just transformed into, I thought, one day I thought, we have a lot of industry partners. Why don't we ask them to team up too? Because they want, I would love to host them for their memberships and people that we align with as well. So we've been really blessed to be able to team up with all sorts of industry, contacts with Texas cattle raisers and Texas sorghum and Plains cotton growers and Texas pork producers and the Davis College of Agriculture and, Merck Animal Health. Gosh, dang, there's so many. So we've really had fun with that, but it's also been really neat to unite those industry people, because it's just incredible that we all kind of are driven to the same goal at the end of the day, to support agriculture.
That's so true. Okay, so you're talking about all this networking, and I don't know if you're like me, but when I go out there and network, like I'm on it, I'm 100% usually, but then I have to have a little bit of a break, Tanya. You can't be on the whole entire time for days on end or weeks on end. So I kind of want to know, like, personally, what you do to just fill your own cup and to reset.
I've been blessed with lots of great friends and along the way, and I'm kind of at that fun stage of life with my kids, because they're actually, they're grown now and they don't need me quite as much. So I have a lot more free time. I'm not chasing them all around the gyms or the stock show barns or wherever that might be. So they're fun to hang out with. I enjoy spending as much time with them as I can, but I love to golf. I'm not very good at it, but I like to golf and just, enjoy my time with that. I enjoy all sorts of music. I like to go to concerts and hang out there, but I love, and it's gotten more special to me over the last few years to go back home to the ranch and spend time with my family and just fish and ride the side by side and go look at fat cattle and green grass. So I'm pretty simple at the end of the day, but those things are kind of, help me recharge and fill my heart.
Yeah, I can see the golf thing for sure. That's cool.
And I will throw this out there too. I never really played golf, but I had to take a class at South Plains as a PE credit or whatever. And I thought, I'll try golf. And I'm so glad that I did, because I've learned it's a great business sport. So even if you're a female amongst a whole bunch of men, there's a lot of transactions, a lot of network opportunities that happen on a golf course. And so I'm super glad that I can swing the stick enough not to totally humiliate myself, but that's been a lot of fun too as a business sport for me too.
Yeah, that's so true. I can remember going to the country club sometimes with my parents, and they did lots of networking, behind the scenes on that. So I always had a good time.
Yep.
Well, Tanya, thank you so much for just spending time with us today, for taking time out of your day and being our guest here on Ag Talk, Your Story Matters.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the time, and I wish you and your organization all the best. So if there's anybody on there that needs anything, feel free to holler at me, and my door is always open, my email, my cell phone, whatever, just reach out, and I'm happy to help in any way I can.
Thank you. And before we wrap up, do you mind giving us your email?
Sure. It's Tanya.Smith@capitalfarmcredit.com, and that's Tanya.
Yep, Tanya. Perfect.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Ag Talk. Your story matters. Make sure to tune in every Tuesday for new episodes and learn more about us and our mission at agwomenconnect.com. You can find us on all major social media platforms, and we can't wait to share your ag story.